Picture this. A choking fog rolls low over the James River in the spring of 1622, muffling the world in a dull gray hush. English colonists wake to a calm morning, unaware that history is about to ignite. Then, movement. Silent shapes emerge from the tree line. Powhatan warriors, dozens, hundreds, each one carrying the weight of a generation pushed too far. At the hour of first light, when settlers trusted their neighbors, when doors were unbarred, when the tobacco fields still glistened with dew, the warriors strike. Axes flash, arrows hiss, the screams come all at once. Across the Virginia frontier, the Powhatan Confederacy unleashes a coordinated assault on more than 30 English outposts. By nightfall, 347 colonists lie dead, nearly a third of all English in Virginia. To the settlers, it is a massacre. To the Powhatan, it is something else. A last attempt to stop the erasure of their world. Because this moment? It wasn't born in a single rage-filled dawn. It was the boiling point of decades of betrayal, tension, and tragedy. The English demanded land for tobacco, endless land. They expanded, fenced, farmed, seized, and consumed Powhatan territory acre by acre. They broke treaties. They kidnapped children. They executed warriors under flags of truce. They imposed tribute. They punished resistance with fire. And behind all this, something darker. Disease. European ships didn't just carry settlers. They carried invisible killers. Smallpox, influenza, measles, waves of plague that tore through native communities with merciless efficiency. Some nations lost 75–90% of their people before a single battle was fought. Mothers, elders, chiefs, healers, entire bloodlines, gone in a season. And with each loss, the balance of power shifted. Guns tipped it further, steel armor, war dogs, fortified settlements, and a colony backed by a massive empire across the sea. So, when the Powhatan Confederacy struck in 1622, it wasn't an explosion of violence. It was the last desperate spark of a people cornered by forces they could never have imagined. The retaliation? Brutal. The English counterattacked with scorched earth raids, burning cornfields, poisoning wells, massacring villages. The war dragged for a decade, grinding the Powhatan world into dust. And this is where the untold story of America's darkest origins truly begins. Before the Pilgrims' myths, before manifest destiny, before the frontier. It begins with fire and famine, with invasion and extinction, with the shattering of ancient societies that had thrived on this continent for thousands of years before a European flag touched its soil. This is the story of how the first peoples of North America faced annihilation, and how some, against impossible odds, survived. Stay with me, because in these flames, America's true beginning burns bright, and the truth is far more haunting than the legends. Part 1. Setup. First encounters. Promise. And peril. Imagine this. 1492. The Caribbean dawn glows gold as Columbus's ships scrape against unfamiliar sand. To Europe, it's a miracle, a new world. But to the millions already living across the continents, from Algonquian fishermen to Mississippian city builders, from Powhatan farmers to Pequot traders, this moment is not discovery. It is invasion. Yet at first, there is hope. Across the 1500s and early 1600s, two civilizations meet with cautious curiosity. European newcomers bring iron knives, copper kettles, steel axes, wool cloth, goods unlike anything in native crafting traditions. In return, indigenous nations teach secrets of the land: corn cultivation, tobacco curing, navigation of rivers and seasons, and the medicinal plants that keep colonists alive through their first brutal winters. In New England, Massasoit, the Wampanoag Sachem, forms a fragile alliance with the Pilgrims in 1621, sharing food and knowledge that prevents their starvation. In Virginia, the Powhatan Confederacy trades corn for English tools, hoping to integrate these strange newcomers into their world. For a moment, there is balance, possibility, perhaps even partnership. But beneath this, tensions coil tight. European sea land is property, fenced, owned, divided by ink and paper. Native nations see land as communal, ancestral, sacred, not to be bought, not to be sold. Trade creates new dangers. Fur for muskets, beaver pelts for metal. Guns and goods reshape power between tribes. Competition intensifies. Old rivalries sharpen. And the English? They expand, relentlessly. Fields sprawl outward from Jamestown. Tobacco, that green gold, devours acre after acre. Hunting grounds shrink. Natives return to find forests cut, marshes drained, rivers dammed, and their crops trampled by English livestock. Misunderstandings multiply. A trespass, a stolen pig, a broken promise, a treaty violated before the ink dries, a missionary condemning native traditions as heathen, a chief punished for defending his lands under European law he never agreed to. Suspicion festers, resentment grows, and while colonists build stockades, forge muskets, and send for more settlers across the sea, something darker crosses the ocean with them. Silent, invisible, unstoppable. The plague, smallpox, measles, influenza. Diseases that Europe has battled for centuries, now unleashed on populations with no immunity at all. Villages collapse overnight, entire bloodlines vanish. Leaders, healers, warriors, the pillars of native society, fall in terrifying numbers. In some regions, 90% perish before a single musket is fired. The balance of power shifts forever. What began as a meeting between worlds is becoming something far more catastrophic. And this is only the first tremor. Because when the plagues burn through the land, and the survivors look out at expanding English fields, broken treaties, and a future closing in like a snare, the question becomes, how long before the first sparks of war ignite? Hold your breath. What happens next will reshape the continent. Part 2. Disease, the silent reaper that broke nations. No drums of war, no clash of steel, no warning. Yet the greatest killing force in American history arrives the moment Europeans set foot on the shore. It travels in their breath, their blankets, their livestock, their clothes. Disease, smallpox, measles, bubonic plague, influenza, typhus, diphtheria, scarlet fever, a legion of invisible invaders, centuries-old enemies of Europe, now unleashed on peoples who have never encountered them. Virgin soil epidemics. The phrase sounds clinical. The reality? Apocalyptic. Across the continents, native immune systems, unprepared, unexposed, collapse instantly. The result is death on a scale no battlefield ever matched. New England becomes a graveyard. Before Plymouth's pilgrims even step off the Mayflower in 1620, waves of smallpox and leptospirosis sweep the coast. Entire villages vanish, fields lie overgrown, corn left unharvested. Between 1616 and 1619, an epidemic wiped out 80–90% of coastal populations from Massachusetts to Maine. Some communities report only one survivor in a village of 200. English colonists interpret this horror as divine providence. Natives see signs of a world ending. Virginia suffers its own collapse. The Powhatan Confederacy, once 25,000 strong, a web of over 30 tribes, faces repeated plagues in the 1610s, 1620s, and 1640s. By the 1670s, barely 1,000 remain. A civilization gutted. Those who survive are often the young, the untrained, the unprepared. Elders, keepers of oral histories, diplomacy, ceremony, die first. Healers, visionaries, sachems fall next. Leadership splinters, knowledge disappears, tradition fractures, societies unravel under the weight of death. Sickness devastates social structures. Hunters too weak to hunt. Mothers dying with infants in their arms. Entire family lines extinguished. Rituals forgotten. Winter stores left untended. Rivals encroach on abandoned lands. Famine follows plague like a shadow. The psychological toll is immense. Some tribes believe their gods have abandoned them. Others think Europeans wield sorcery. Some hope alliance may offer protection, only to find that proximity brings more disease. The demographic collapse destroys unity. Alliances that once held firm crumble. The Wampanoag lose their strength to resist growing Plymouth settlements. The Narragansett, initially spared, gain power, breeding new tensions with neighbors. The Powhatan loses warriors essential to resisting Virginia's expansion. The Pequot, weakened by disease, face English aggression with fractured regional support. Even before a single war erupts, the battlefield is already tilted. The numbers are staggering. Historians estimate that within a century of European arrival, disease kills 50–90% of indigenous peoples across the Americas. In North America alone, millions die without ever seeing a European face. More than all battles, more than all massacres, more than all wars combined, by the time muskets fire, the outcome is already shaped. The survivors inherit a world transformed. Cities empty. Alliances unstable. Armies weakened. Territory lost. Cultural continuity broken. And European settlements multiplying like wildfire. Disease doesn't just kill people. It kills stability. It kills diplomacy. It kills the possibility of united resistance. And into this shattered world step European weapons. Tools of war that will tip the balance even further. Because next comes a force equally deadly, equally transformative, but this time, wholly deliberate. Guns. Brace yourself. The thunder of iron is about to echo through the forests. Part 3. Guns and trade tensions. The deadly imbalance. Trade begins with smiles. Beads for furs. Copper for corn. Metal pots for knowledge of the land. But behind every handshake lies the shadow of European ambition. Guns enter the story, and everything changes. At first, European powers tightly restrict firearms. A matchlock musket in 1600? Slow, heavy, unreliable. But still a revolution in a world of bows and spears. Colonists know the danger. They decree, no guns for hostile tribes. Only for friends. The ones who can be used as buffers and weapons against their enemies. The Mohegans in New England, the Mohicans in the Hudson Valley, later the Iroquois Confederacy, armed heavily by the Dutch and the English. Suddenly, war itself transforms. Gunpower. China's survival tribes don't want firearms simply for prestige. They need them. Deer populations shrink under European settlement. Traditional hunting grows harder. A musket? It means food. It means protection. It means power in a world dissolving under disease and displacement. But the more tribes want guns, the more colonists realize they can control through scarcity. The fur trade becomes a blood trade. Gunpowder becomes the new gold. Muskets, the new currency. Fur pelts the price. Beaver skins, thick, glossy, perfect for European felt hats, become the lifeblood of the colonial economy. To get guns, tribes must deliver furs in staggering quantities. This fuels the Beaver Wars, a century-long storm of violence from the 17th to early 18th century. The Iroquois Confederacy, armed by Dutch traders at Fort Orange, wage aggressive campaigns against Algonquin and Huron peoples to control fur routes. Villages fall. Trade networks collapse. Entire peoples scatter westward. The continent's political map is rewritten, not by treaties, but by muskets. Alcohol, a weapon of another kind. Europeans bring rum, brandy, and gin, and they weaponize it. Alcohol destabilizes communities, fuels conflict, erodes leadership, undermines diplomacy, encourages dependence. Some traders use it deliberately, offering liquor before negotiations to secure unfair deals. Some colonies even ban alcohol sales to natives, only to ignore their own laws when the profits become irresistible. Religion adds fuel to the fire. Missionaries enter the woods carrying Bibles and condemnation. Wampum ceremonies? Devil's work. Medicine men? Witches. Ancestor spirits? Satanic illusions. Conversion divides communities. Praying towns versus traditionalists, new allies versus old loyalties. John Eliot's Puritan missions, Jesuit black robes in Canada, Spanish friars in the South, all tug at native worlds already cracking under disease and displacement. Guns divide, religion divides, alcohol divides, trade divides, and land, that's the fuse that finally blows. The Powhatan see tobacco plantations devour their hunting grounds. The Pequots watch Connecticut merchants flood their territory with rival traders, sparking accusations, kidnappings, murders. Every treaty is rewritten. Every boundary moves. Always eastward for natives, always outward for colonists. By the 1630s, the Pequots are targeted for elimination. By the 1640s, the Powhatan face open war. By the 1670s, Metacom sees what's coming for his people. Trade was supposed to bind worlds. Instead, it becomes the engine of war. The land shakes under the growing thunder. The spark is struck. Next comes the firestorm. Part 4. Land grabs and cultural clashes. The theft that sparked Furyland. Not just soil, not just territory. For Indigenous peoples, land is memory, identity, ancestor, future. For Europeans, it's property, profit, ownership, a commodity to carve, fence, and inherit. And when these worlds collide, blood follows. Haas, two civilizations, two universes of meaning for the Powhatan, Pequot, Wampanoag, and countless others. Land is shared. Stewardship, not possession. Hunting grounds shift with the seasons. Sacred spaces remain untouched. Warriors protect the balance, not borders. For Europeans, land, snar wealth. Land, snar dominance. Land, snar divine mandate. The English arrive carrying legal systems no native nation has ever encountered. Deeds, patents, enclosures, mortgages, fencing laws. They treat forests as waste until improved by English hands. John Winthrop says it plainly. An unused forest is empty, free to take. To the native peoples watching their homelands shrink, this is not law. It is theft, disguised as righteousness. Virginia, Jamestown rising. Powhatan starving. Jamestown grows from a starving camp into a ravenous machine. Tobacco becomes gold, and gold demands land. Plantations stretch along the James River, devouring fields where Powhatan families once hunted, fished, farmed. English livestock wander freely, trampling native corn. Colonists seize riverbanks claiming vacant spaces created by earlier pandemics. Powhatan diplomacy collapses under the weight of colonial hunger. Peace offerings are ignored. Boundaries mean nothing. Even alliances sealed by marriage, like Pocahontas, cannot stop the tide. By the 1620s, the English are fencing off a world Powhatan ancestors held for centuries. Desperation breeds fury. Fury breeds war. Connecticut. The Pequot squeeze to the breaking point. The Pequot stand at the crossroads of New England's most lucrative trade network. The Dutch want their beaver pelts. The English want their coastline. The Narragansett and Mohegan want their power diminished. Colonists accuse Pequots of harboring killers in 1636, a charge rooted in trade competition, not justice. Unfair treaties follow. Hostages are demanded. Negotiations collapse. Then comes the Connecticut land rush. Puritans carve the frontier into towns. Wethersfield, Hartford, Windsor. Each one bites deeper into Pequot homelands. The tribe sees the noose tightening. Resistance becomes survival. New England, a world reborn. Without its native keepers, smallpox clears coastal lands before colonists ever arrive. Villages lie empty. Fields once rich with corn and beans turn wild. To colonists, this looks like divine providence. To native survivors, it is the aftermath of apocalypse. By 1670, the demographic tables turn. Colonists outnumber natives 3-to-1. English cattle overgraze hunting lands. Fences block ancient trails. Missionaries demand conversion. Laws ban native ceremonies, dress, governance. Praying towns rise. Enforced assimilation centers cloaked in piety. Children are taken. Governance is overseen by colonial magistrates. Traditional authority is dismantled. And all the while, more land disappears under English deeds, grants, and charters. Metacom sees it. Canonche sees it. Uncas sees it. The land of their ancestors shrinking, year after year, treaty after treaty, encroachment after encroachment. Something has to break, and it does. When land becomes war, by the mid-1600s, the pattern is unmistakable. Powhatan War, 1622-1632. Land grabs, broken agreements, tobacco expansion. Pequot War, 1636-1638. Trade monopolies, colonial encroachment, fabricated accusations. King Philip's War, 1675-1676. Forced sales, livestock damage, missionary pressure, legal humiliation. Each conflict erupts from the same root, the theft of land and the erasure of indigenous sovereignty. The continent trembles, villages burn, alliances fracture, whole nations face extinction. The wars are coming, brutal, unforgiving, world-shattering. And next, we step into the inferno itself. Part 5. The Wars. Flames of resistance and ruin. The match is struck. The land cries out. What follows is a century-long inferno. 3 wars, 3 catastrophes that reshape the continent forever. These aren't isolated battles. They're the slow-motion collapse of a world. Let's step into the fire. Shakirixpa 1. The Anglo-Powhatan Wars, 1609-1646. Jamestown's endless hunger. Jamestown is starving, not for food, but for land. By 1609, the English demand corn, labor, territory. Powhatan diplomacy phrase. The First Anglo-Powhatan War erupts as colonists burn villages, seize crops, kidnap leaders. The English resort to brutal tactics, burning entire towns, executing captives, cultural extermination campaigns. Pocahontas is taken hostage. Powhatan's power breaks. 1622, the massacre. That wasn't a massacre. Powhatan's successor, Opechancanough's, strikes first. Coordinated dawn attacks across 80 miles. 347 English settlers killed, nearly 1/3 of Virginia's population. But the English retaliate with grim precision. Poison feasts, scorched earth slave raids. A 10-year genocidal campaign. The Third War ends in 1646 with Opechancanough's, over 90 years old, captured and shot in the back. His death marks the collapse of the Powhatan Confederacy. Outcome: Powhatans reduced from 25,000 whores to under 1,000. Crown seizes all Tidewater Territory tribes forced into tributary status. Virginia becomes a plantation empire. The first indigenous nation to face the English is crushed, but worse is coming. 2. The Pequot War, March 1636-1638. The first genocide. It starts with trade. It ends with annihilation. The Pequots dominate the fur-rich Connecticut River. The English want that wealth. Accusations of murder, thinly justified, become the pretext. Mystic Massacre, May 26, 1637. A moonlit assault. Colonial forces surround the fortified Pequot village at Mystic. They set the palisade ablaze. Inside are elders, women, and children. As they flee the flames, colonists cut them down. Those who don't escape burn alive. Between 400 and 700 perish in less than an hour. John Mason writes, "God laughed his enemies to scorn." The Puritans call it a victory. History calls it genocide. Aftermath: Pequot name outlawed survivors enslaved in Bermuda or sold to Puritans' land confiscated entirely. Mohegan and Narragansett manipulated into English client states. The Pequot War teaches the colonists something dark. Total war works. And native nations learn something darker. The English will destroy entire peoples to claim land. Sectory. 3. King Philip's War, 1675 to 1676, the last stand of the Eastern tribes. This is the apocalypse. Metacom King Philip, son of Massasoit, tries diplomacy for years. But colonists seize more land, impose English courts, arrest and execute native leaders, force conversions, demand disarmament. Finally, he calls the tribes to unite. Narragansett, Nipmuc, Pocumtuck, Wampanoag. For a moment, just a moment, the alliance holds. War explodes. Native warriors torch frontier towns. Swansea, Brookfield, Lancaster, Springfield, Deerfield, half of all English. Settlements in New England are attacked. 12 are erased completely, but the colonists are ruthless. Militias adopt native tactics. They field Mohegan, Pequot, and Mohawk allies. They pay bounties for native scalps. Great Swamp Massacre, 1675. A frozen hell. Colonists storm a Narragansett winter fort holding mostly non-combatants. 300 plus slaughtered. Tribes crippled. Philip's Fall, August 12, 1676. Betrayed, exhausted, starving. His warriors dead, his family enslaved. Shot by a native scout fighting for the English. His head placed on a pike for 20 years. Aftermath: 40% of native adults in New England killed 2,500 colonists dead, 1 in 10 men. Entire tribes scattered or enslaved. Native political independence in southern New England ends. English expansion explodes unchecked. King Philip's War becomes the deadliest conflict per capita in American history. A civilization collapses in real time. Fas inansur resiru, the three wars together, a continental tragedy. By 1676, the pattern is complete. Powhatan's crushed, Pequot's erased, Wampanoag-Narragansett alliance broken 3 wars. 3 catastrophes. 3 doors closed forever. The wars didn't just take lives, they took worlds, languages, cultures, religions, homelands, and they cleared the path for a colonial empire. This is the crucible from which America emerges. Land seized in blood, built on ruin, haunted by the ashes of nations who lived here for millennia. Part 6. Aftermath and Legacy. A continent scarred, dreams and ashes. The weapons fall silent, the fires burn out, the smoke clears. But what's left behind isn't peace. It's a scar. Genocide in slow motion, population collapse. Across the continent, from New England to Virginia to the Deep South, entire populations are gone. Some historians estimate that following European contact, disease, war, displacement, indigenous populations dropped by 80–90%. Villages once teeming with life, trade, ritual, gone. Forests reclaimed farmland, but the human landscapes never returned. Language, once spoken in thousands of dialects, grows silent. Genes, bloodlines, kinship networks vanish. An oral history that spans centuries lives lost in days. What remains? Trauma, memory, and a deep wound in the land itself. Land lost forever. Homelands turned to colony. The rivers, fields, forests once stewarded by native nations become grants, plantations, towns. Land that never belonged to any man becomes property for many. Communal land uses, hunting grounds, sacred groves, vanish under fences, laws, and title deeds. With each war and death toll, more land slips from indigenous hands, stolen through treaty, deed, coercion, gunpoint. Generations carry the loss. Mothers forced off ancestral soil, children raised in praying towns, removed from traditions by force or fear. Culture erased, traditions branded. Illegal. Spirituality. Silenced after the dust. Settles, colonial governments and religious authorities begin the slow work of erasure. Native spiritual practices outlawed. Medicine men branded witches. Ceremonies forbidden. Languages suppressed in schools, courts, even daily life. Drums fall silent. Rituals disappear. Ancestors forgotten or written out of history books. What the colonists call civilization, for many native nations means cultural death by orders. Pattern set, a template for genocide and dispossession. The wars, massacres, and theft of the 1600s weren't chaotic accidents. They were systemic trials, testing ground for methods of conquest that would haunt centuries to come. Forced relocation, land seizure, treaty betrayal, slave trade of indigenous peoples, use of legalized violence under colonial law, cultural assimilation and erasure. Centuries later, echoes of these methods return in the tragedies like the Trail of Tears, the massacres of the Plains Wars, the forced assimilation of boarding schools, the suppression of native identity at Wounded Knee and beyond. The war for land that began with muskets and plagues never stopped. It just changed methods. But from ashes, resilience. Yet the story doesn't end in doom. Survivors persevered, hidden languages endured, oral traditions survived in whispers, descendants remembered. In the 20th and 21st centuries, indigenous peoples across North America begin to reclaim what was lost. Land rights and treaty enforcement. Language revival. Schools teaching Wampanoag, Navajo, Lakota. Cultural renaissance. Powwows, traditional governance, art, poetry, activism. Legal battles to protect sacred lands, fishing and hunting rights, environmental justice. Their fight isn't just for territory, it is for memory, for identity, for justice. The true legacy, a warning etched in silence. What's often called founding of America, colonial success, or settlement, cannot be understood without the void that created it. The foundation of a nation built by dispossession. The dream of progress drawn in the blood of peoples long here before. The loss of a continent's first voices, cultures, and humanity, and the scars remain. On land, in families, in memory. But so does resilience, so does resistance, so does truth. If you listen carefully, if you remember, the land still speaks, the ashes still whisper, and one day perhaps, we'll finally learn to read the warning in their wind. Conclusion, the final word. In the end, this isn't just history. It's the truth America was built on. The truth buried under flags, myths, and textbooks. A continent didn't open, it was taken. Civilization didn't advance, it erased, enslaved, and consumed. Millions didn't fade away. They were struck down by disease, by steel, by fire, by greed. And yet, the greatest twist of all, they survived. Against impossible odds. Against armies, empires, and centuries of erasure. Against a machine designed to wipe them from the page. Their languages are rising again. Their land rights are being fought for. Their stories, once silenced, now echo louder than ever. And we're finally listening. Because this isn't just the story of how America was made. It's the story America still refuses to face. A story written in blood, resilience, and truth. So, if you take anything from this journey, let it be this. The first peoples of this land were never lost. They were pushed. They were broken. But they were never defeated. Their legacy lives in every river, every mountain, every place with a name older than the country that stands on it. And now, their voice lives here too. In you. In us. In the telling of this story. Because the real history of this land, it doesn't belong to conquerors. It belongs to those who endured. Remember them, honor them, and never let the truth die again. This is America's origin story, not the one we're taught, the one we must never forget.